Okay, class, we're going to create an application now. We've already created a package, so now we're moving on to applications. So the first thing I want to do is go to my source files folder. I want to create a new folder called Notepad++. Go to my browser. I'm going to do a search of Notepad. Notepad++ MSI. So I'm going to see this guy, this website has created some MSI packages for Notepad++. Just want to go there and scroll to the bottom. And we want to get the latest version. I'm going to download the 64-bit version and the X86 bit version. So I'll do the X86 first. Save as. And save it in the Notepad++ folder we just created. Close this and then do the 64-bit. I also want you to go back and do a search of Notepad++, and just go to the Notepad++ homepage and download the X86 version. This is going to be an EXE install. So I want to show you how you can make one application with 3 different deployment types with the EXE extension and 2 MSIs, one 64-bit, one 32-bit. So for the EXE, we're just going to install the 32-bit. Incidentally, guys, when you're using Notepad++, always use the 32-bit version because not all the plugins work for 64-bit. And again, I'm going to save that in my Notepad++ folder. So in that folder, I should have 2 MSIs and 1 regular installer. So now I'm going to go to my SCCM machine. I'm still on my SCCM machine. I'm under Software Library, then Applications. So I'm going to right click, Create Applications, or just highlight it, then click Create Applications up here. And we're going to, guys, we can't use the local path. We have to use the UNC path. SCCM, source files, / Notepad++, and we're going to start with the X86 installer, the MSI installer. Click Next. It's just going to give you a warning that that application isn't signed. That's fine. Click Next. You can supply all the information about here. The software version is 7.5.4, I believe. Yeah, there it is. It automatically determined what it needed to install that file. We can install it for a system or user, we're going to choose a system because we're going to make sure that that system is an x86 machine. Click next, next. Close. So if we look at that, we see that there's one deployment type already. It's already there for us. So when we installed it, it created that deployment type. So what we're going to do, and if you want to look at that deployment type, you go into properties, and you can customize this. Right there is the directory. Here's the MSI. It actually included an actual uninstall. Detection method, it's going to detect if that application is present before it tries to install it. Requirement, we can add a requirement that for this particular one, you have to have a Windows 32-bit machine. Click OK. And there's no dependencies. Return code, if something happened, click OK. Okay, so now if we wanted to, we could highlight the application and create a new deployment type. Create deployment type. It's MSI. Source file. Notepad++. This time I want to choose the 64-bit. Again, I can't verify it. Hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. We can't verify the installer because we can't verify the publisher because there was no signature on this installer. That's fine. Click next. It's going to install. It's going to figure out what it needs to do for the installment. We can add some requirements here. Again, the last one was for a 32-bit system. So this one is going to be for Windows 10 64-bit. Click next. If there's any dependencies, like say this required Java to be installed, you can have that pre-installed here. Of course, you already have to have that application added. Click close. So right now we have one application with two different deployment types, one for 32-bit, one for 64-bit. So let's create a third one. So far, everything we've been dealing with has been MSIs. I want to show you how to do it with an exe file. I know from experience that Notepad++ has a silent install. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new deployment type. And we're not going to let it automatically detect. We're going to manually specify the deployment information. Click next. We're going to call this Notepad++. If we wanted to specify it's an exe installer. we're going to browse for the location, SCCM slash source files slash notepad plus plus. You have to put this backslash there at the end. If you don't, it'll give you an error. So we're going to browse. It actually doesn't give me the name. So I'm just going to go to the location and copy the name. So this is what I want, F2. I'm going to copy it. And .exe slash uppercase S. So this is the switch to do it silently. Click next. And we need to detect if this application is present. So I know this is a 32-bit installer, so I'm going to add a clause. I'm going to check if a file is present. So when it tries to install it on a client, if this file is present, it knows it's already installed. Program files X86. I don't have it installed here, but actually it might be installed on my real machine. It's under C, Program Files X86, and I don't have it installed, but that's okay. Notepad plus plus, and the name of the program is Notepad plus plus .exe. If this file exists, it knows it's already installed, so this deployment type won't actually take effect. Click OK. So it just wants to know if the application is already there. You don't want it to boot up and every time you connect to the SCCM server, it redo this install. Install for users, or we can install it for the system when they're logged on, or whether or not they are on or signed in or signed off. So we can just keep it hidden. It's a silent install. Incidentally, it's going to be always hidden because I know this installer doesn't display anything. You know, what happens at a certain amount of time, if it times out, what are we going to do? Who do we want to install this to? Just to get something a little different, we're going to install this on our servers. Let's only apply to our servers. Click next. Does this require any other software to be installed? In this case, no. Next. Close. Okay, so now we have one application with 3 different ways to install. This was going to do a silent install from an exe onto our servers. This will do a silent install on our Windows 10 clients using an MSI, 64-bit clients, and this will do a silent install using an MSI on 32-bit clients. So now what we need to do is actually send this to our distribution point. So I'm going to right click, distribute content. This is the name of what we're trying to distribute. It's an application. We're going to send it to our distribution point. Again, our source files location is just a working directory to send stuff to the distribution points. Our clients don't download from the source files folder, they download from the distribution point. I could have 30 distribution points if I wanted. Okay, so in a little bit, this will get sent to our distribution point. We'll check that here. So next thing we're going to do is do a deployment. I'm going to send this to all users. I only have one. I could add additional distribution points here if I need to. We only have the one, so I'm just sticking with that. We can make it available or required. We can uninstall it if we wanted to. You could request that they need to get approval before installing this application from the administrator. When will it be available? Right now. No, actually, I'm not sure why this time is off. 3:02 p.m. It's going to display in the software center. Allow stuff to change at the deadline or the application window. It depends on when you decide, when you configure that application menu. Any alerts? We want to configure this. I'm not going to allow that, just I'm going to leave the default. Next. And close. So this is going to be deployed to all users and only when they're on those type of systems. So we can see our deployment here, 0 compliance so far. If we want to go to monitoring, we can look at distribution status, content status, and we can see if it's reached our distribution point. Right now it's fully loaded to our distribution point, so we should be good to go. So I'm going to jump over to a client. I'm not sure if the client will have it yet. We'll go to Software Center. It doesn't have it yet, so if we want to, we can go to our control panel, try to rush it along. Sorry, let me explain what I'm doing. Go to our control panel, go to System and Security. Then down at the bottom, we're going to have the Config Manager. We can just run all of these. Or try to go out, go back in. Okay, it still doesn't have the information just yet, so I'm just going to leave it alone, let it go, and then show you in the next video if it shows up here or not. Okay, that's it for this video.